prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed.
What happens when life gives you a bad deal? Do you quit or do you keep on going? You are now watching Young, Dumb, and Thriving.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Young, Dumb, and Thriving. Today you are here with Charmaine and a very special guest of ours, James Hall. So James, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Well, first let me start off by saying I was not traditionally trained. I did not go to school for photography or visual arts. But growing up, I was surrounded by musicians. Both sides of my family were musicians. My dad toured in a band. And so when I went into college, it was just natural for me to go and get a vocal performance degree.
Yeah.
I know that shocks a lot of people when they don't know me. And so with that degree, I wanted to become a rock star. And so that slowly, faded away.
Yeah.
And so I needed to find another creative outlet.
Yeah.
And that's where I found photography.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so with that, I just, slowly started to work at it, became, I got intrigued by it and just started to roll with it. And then 4 years ago, I started my own company.
Wow, that's amazing. So I just want to clear this up. I wasn't laughing because I didn't believe that you could be a rock star, okay? I was only laughing because I actually started modeling in San Diego with him as my photographer. Yes. So I never knew that side of him. So I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Really so quick. You said you got your degree.
Yes.
Okay.
In vocal.
Okay.
Yes.
And then what age did you start getting into photography?
Yeah, sure. Well, I actually dabbled in photography while I was in college.
Okay.
So kind of played around with it a little bit.
Got it.
Different cameras, stuff like that. Film was still a thing back then.
Yeah.
And which was crazy. That ages me a little bit here. But I didn't really start taking photography seriously until about 6 to 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I actually got lucky and landed in a marketing firm job.
Wow.
Where they actually asked me to start their photography and their videography department.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And so with that, I was doing photography first for the marketing of the company, and then I started doing both photography and videos for their clients also.
Wow.
Yeah, which was really, really cool. And so with that role, that's where I really became passionate about it and really started to dive into it and really figure it out. And then, like I said, 4 years ago, I jumped right in. I quit that and I jumped right in and started my own business.
That's awesome. So you, what age were you when you were with that firm?
So when I was with that firm, I was... I have to think how old I am right now. So that I was 34.
Right, and so then
when I started that.
Wow, and then the age that you started your own journey.
Yes.
What age were you? 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago. So that would have put me at, because I'm 40 now.
No, we want to congratulate that because that's the whole point of the show.
Yes.
Young, Dumb, and Thriving. First of all, it's not to call us dumb, it's to say that with our craft, we will make the world silent.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, whatever age you start anything at, you're still young. And that's the point. Just do it. Go for your dreams and do it. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, no.
So 4 years ago, you were 36. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That just shows there's no timeline. And
correct.
You said you stepped into it because you got into a job, a firm position, and they asked you to start doing it. So obviously they knew you were already a little bit into it.
They did, yeah. They knew that I was skilled at it. They knew that I could, because I had already produced some work. I had a little bit of a portfolio, especially since I had dabbled with it in college and things like that.
Yeah.
So they already had kind of seen my work and what I could do. And then when I actually started doing stuff for the company, they were just kind of blown away. And they were just we want this and we want this to start happening. And I was doing events for them and all kinds of stuff because they were holding 3 events a year, really big events where it was 200 to 300 people per event. Yeah, and so I was filming and photographing all those and stuff like that. And then we had, so we worked a lot with insurance brokers and agents and stuff. And so we would actually film a bunch of marketing videos for them, along with like I would do headshots for them, and so I actually got to set up my own studio there with lighting and everything, and which taught me a lot really quickly because you got to catch on fast.
Yes.
And I was watching a lot of YouTube videos at the time, trying to learn it and figure it all out because, like I said, I hadn't been traditionally trained. And
got it.
So it was learning on the job.
Yeah. So when you first started your business, like you said, you weren't trained how to do everything. You didn't go to school for it. So when did you decide, okay, I need to be a videographer and a photographer and just know how to do all the external things? Like, when did you decide?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think if I had to pinpoint a time and frame, it was probably a year after starting with that firm that I really was just like, okay, this is what I want to pursue for the rest of my life. Like, I'm really good at it. This is what I'm passionate about, and this is what I want to do. And so I just started making. I got blessed also. The company paid for all the equipment that we had for the company, which was really cool. So I had access to some really nice equipment.
Right.
And which, was hard to step away from when I started.
Like, okay,
because I was like, oh, wait, I don't have all this equipment now. But then also for both photos and video work, I got blessed because they also paid for like all my Adobe subscriptions and stuff like that. So I would stay like 2 to 3 hours after work, and I would just take training courses. And learn Adobe Photoshop and Premiere Pro and After Effects and like all that kind of stuff, because I was just like, this is what I want to do. So I went after it.
Wow, that's amazing, because one, that shows the audience and it shows me that you're driven.
Yes. Because
not a lot of times are people willing to, like you said, stay after work a couple of hours just to do a side hustle. At that time, that's what it was.
Exactly.
And so can you speak a little bit more about that, especially to someone who's like, I already have a job that's a 9 to 5, like, but I want to start a business, but I don't know where to start. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the side hustle is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you probably understand that as much as anyone else. Also, it's tough because you are working, your 9 to 5, and so you put a lot of hours in. And maybe you've got family at home. I didn't, I was fortunate where I still didn't have kids yet. I still don't have kids, so that's because they take up a lot of time and financial responsibility. So I've been lucky there. But I had my girlfriend, I have friends, I have family, all that kind of stuff. And so you feel like sometimes you sacrifice a little bit of that. But that kind of comes in circle with like work-life balance also, because when I was doing that with the side hustle and then transitioning into my own company, it was all work, no play.
And there's some periods where it's just all work.
Exactly.
And it's okay.
And to be honest, I would personally say that it's okay in the beginning to do that, because you do have to sacrifice something if you really want to go after it. But you can't dangle there for too long, because it gets a little dangerous. And everyone also has a burnout point. So you're going to burn out, and I did. I hit a burnout point, and then I finally realized that I had to switch that around. I had to put some life back into my work, because I mean, I love what I do. That's why I'm doing it. And a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people can't say that they love what they do. And so with that, I was like, I've got to flip this around. And so I've been fortunate enough to be able to turn that around and put life back in there a little bit, because I've got tons of friends and family and other activities. I love to play beach volleyball,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like that too.
and so it was like, I've got to put some of these things back into my life again. And so I've gotten lucky and been fortunate enough to be able to make those transitions now, which is nice.
So would you say that, because you mentioned a challenging point and your burnout point.
Yes.
So would you say that it was the work and the hustle that was keeping you like burnt out, or it was trying to balance it all?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. It was probably a mix of both, because when you first start out, and even if I was working the 9 to 5, that job also took a lot of my time and effort also. And so when you're just go,
Yeah.
you can only do that for so long.
Right.
You're gonna get burnt out.
Yes.
At the time too, while I was doing that, my girlfriend was also starting her own company.
Wow.
And so she was working like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And so I was also, so she had started a food company. And so I was not only doing the 9 to 5, I also was trying to like get my career started up and running with my photography
Right.
business and stuff on the side hustle. And then on the weekends, I was also going
Helping
to farmers
her.
markets, helping her
Wow.
and stuff. And so it was just like, you can only do so much. and eventually you'll just crash and burn. But that's also why you've got to have a support system. My girlfriend was my support system, still is to this day.
Yeah.
And she was the one that eventually was just like, you've got to get out of your own way and you need to start your company and like, let's make this happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you've got to have that also.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, because a lot of people feel like when they become an entrepreneur or they start up their own company or business, they feel like they have to do it on their own.
Yes.
And a lot of times, yes, you do have to start a little process by yourself, because
Yes.
you have to come up with your own ideas and
Yes.
you have to do all of that.
Yes.
But it's great that you brought up, you do have to have that support.
Yes.
And even for those who don't have a support system, what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still looking for it actually for myself, but if you can find a mentor, do it.
Amazing.
It's key.
Yeah.
You have to have a mentor in your life. I wish I had one. I mean, like I said, I have my support system, which is great. But a mentor really can help elevate you.
Wow.
Because it can really take you to the next levels, or just the fact that they can really help you be able to hone in on what you really are good at, or
Yes.
where you're headed, help you make those plans for 5 years, 10 years,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Because I mean, luckily the marketing firm that I worked for, we actually did every Friday we held a company meeting or luncheon, if you want to call it. And they provided lunch, and we actually would either talk about books that we read, or we would give a presentation about something that we learned during the week and stuff like that. And so what that actually taught me, because somebody did a presentation on making goals for yourself, and not only making them and telling yourself about those goals, but saying them out loud to someone.
Wow, yeah.
And once you say those goals or those determinations that you want to make out loud, your body and your brain just remembers it for some reason, and you start pursuing it sometimes without even knowing it.
Yeah.
But it's so important to say those things out loud.
Yeah.
And so you've just got to implement a lot of those things into your life to make yourself successful.
That's amazing advice. That's amazing that you're saying that, because a lot of times people don't realize, but your words speak power.
Yes.
I really live by that. I feel like when you say it out loud and you believe it, it's going to happen.
Yes.
Regardless of how long it takes, it's going to happen. And so that's why I try not to speak negative over myself, because I'm like, uh-oh, like, let me not speak negative, but let me keep that positive mindset. So for those of you who do not have support and you just don't really feel like anybody's in your corner, that doesn't mean to give up. That means to keep on trying harder, speak those goals out loud, like you said, and keep on pushing. So the moment that you were like, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to work for myself and start up my own company, how did you feel? Like, what was your process?
Yeah, what was your process? It was an emotional process. It really was. Because I was going through a lot of mixed feelings. I had feelings of excitement, because I was stoked that I was doing this. But probably the one at the top was I was scared to death. Because I was just like, wait, I don't have a consistent paycheck coming in anymore. I'm responsible for everything now. I'm responsible for my success. I'm responsible for bringing in money. And so it was scary.
Yeah.
It was really, really scary. But like I said, I felt very confident in myself. But I didn't jump in. My girlfriend might disagree with me on this when she watches this, but that's what that support system's for. But no, I felt like I didn't jump in completely without a plan.
Yeah.
I did think about it. I did try to line up some things in the beginning. There are a lot of different freelance platforms out there that I would highly recommend anybody starting out to look into, because those can really help you get off the ground running also. And so I like researched and did all those kind of things and tried to set myself up for success in the beginning, to at least get my foot
through that door,
get that foundation. Yeah, get my foot through the door.
That's awesome. So when you started your photography, right? And because I know, like I said, I modeled for him as well. When were you like, okay, let me do personal, like models, and then let me do events, and like, so how did you figure that out?
So in the beginning, I was doing everything I could.
He's like, let me just take all of it.
I was just taking it all in, because I didn't know at the time, to be honest. I didn't know what I was going to specialize in. I didn't know what I was going to be really good at or what I enjoyed. So I did kind of dabble in everything. I was doing weddings. I was doing events. I was trying to do some modeling stuff. I was trying to work with some brands. I was doing products. I was doing all kinds of stuff. And so I'd say after my first year, because basically at the end of every year, I try to reflect on what went well, what didn't go so well, how can I improve on it, and what do I want for the next year? What are my goals? And so at the end of that first year, I realized quickly by own personal experiences, and then also I did research on other photographers' websites and see, okay, what are they doing? Are they doing everything? Are they specializing in 2 things or 3 things or 5 things? Like, what are they doing that are successful photographers? And so I quickly realized that the successful photographers really only focused on 2 or 3 things. Yes, they can do everything, but they really specialized in 2 or 3 things. So that was at the end of that first year, I realized, okay, I got to narrow this down. I got to figure out what I really like and what I'm really good at and go after those things. And so that's what I did.
How did you feel when the pandemic started?
Oof.
Right. That's the question.
Yes, that's a deep dark question. The first week was insane and maybe a little depressing because I knew as a freelancer, especially doing video photography, I have to be in front of people. I have to be with people and around people. And that was a no-no.
Couldn't be 6 feet.
Exactly, 6 feet apart. How do we make this work? And I saw a lot of photographers being creative, doing different things. People were trying to do Skype and photo shoots through the computer and things like that, and which was really cool to see that. It wasn't my cup of tea. I was just like, this isn't me. But I was impressed. I'm always impressed to see people adapt. So I started to be like, okay, well, I've got a little bit of time on my hands here this first week, and let me see what I can do. And so I started seeing professional photographers putting challenges out there. And they were doing like lighting challenges, self-portrait challenges, things like that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play around with that. And so I started to do some self-portraits, which I had never done before. I hate being in front of the camera, so this is not comfortable for me. I like being behind it. And so it was a really an intense growing moment for me, because I did start actually taking the time to learn some new lighting techniques and way that images and pictures could look and things like that, along with implementing myself into them, which was a huge challenge in itself. So yes, it started off as kind of like, oh crap, where's this going to go? And I don't know what I'm going to do with COVID happening. But I tried to turn it into more of a positive and a learning experience, which I feel like we should be doing in every aspect of our life.
I love how you brought that.
And so, but then after that, I got lucky because I one of my specialties, talking about the 2 or 3 specialties that you focus on. One of those is real estate and architectural photography. And that's pretty much my breadwinner, my consistent income that comes in. And so I got lucky because they put that on as a what did they call it? I forget now. Anyways, the necessary people that are allowed to keep working.
Continue working.
Yeah, continue working. So I was on that list. If you did real estate, any type of real estate stuff, whether you're
That's
a photographer,
awesome.
an actual realtor, whatever the case may be, you could keep working. And so I was able to keep working, and the house market in California just blew up actually during COVID. It became a seller's market, and so I was shooting 3 to 4 houses a day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was
Wow.
it was insane. Yeah, so I felt very blessed because I stayed crazy busy during COVID. So it was a wave of emotions, and I'm glad that I got to go through them all actually. But yeah, so it's been good. So
good.
Actually, it's been good.
So what advice would you have to someone who's like you, starting their own business, but then years later it's like, something happens. Like now knowing after the pandemic has kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, what advice would you give somebody who is like, oh my God, but what happens if that happens to me in the future?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
how should I think?
How should you think about it? Yeah, I mean, like I kind of said, I would really focus on first, what can you learn from it? Like, how can you adapt?
Yes.
So a perfect example of this is I have a buddy that owns a luggage store.
Okay.
Here in San Diego, and he obviously no one's buying luggage right now during COVID because
can't go nowhere.
no one's going anywhere. And so he was just like, I've got to adapt.
Yeah.
I've got to figure something out. So he started doing research, and he found out that people were buying up bicycles because everybody wanted to be active again, and people were looking for things to do and be outside and stuff like that. And so he used his channels that he gets all his luggage from, and he was able to start purchasing bicycles.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
so for about 6 months, he sold bicycles.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so he adapted. And so
Right.
it's like, I saw so many people doing that. So if I had any advice for you, like if some big challenges happens to you, always just be looking at how you can adapt.
Just adapt.
Yeah, like, I mean, maybe you are a product photographer, so hopefully you're going to be set, during a pandemic, because hopefully you can keep just getting products in or whatever. But if you're not, then maybe look at what you could switch over to and adapt to something else and learn a new skill while you're at it. Like, just never stop learning and always keep looking for the future. Like, don't get caught up in the moment, because that's so easy to do, and get bogged down by that, and just stay positive.
Wow, first of all, that's amazing advice, and I want you to keep that idea for our next segment. All right, you guys, so we are here for game time. It's obviously a different setting because he is a photographer. So this is his domain right here. So we had to set it up a way for where he could take pictures. Now, his challenge is going to be, he has 3 different cards that say different things. Obviously, I can't look at them because the first card that he pulls out, he's going to be able to say. So you're going to be able to tell me what it says so that I can model it, and then you can take pictures of it. The second card, he's going to only be able to act it out. Right? To try and get me to model it. Nice. And then the third card, he's going to not talk, not act it out, but somehow try and get me to be in that position. So you might want to put those cards in order to see which one you can do. But this challenge is basically to show his skills as a photographer, one, and also to show how each session can be different. Like, sometimes you're not able to talk or communicate with the person, or they just don't understand what you're saying. So this is how we're gonna show this for game time. All right, James, so just to close it up, 1, that activity was so much fun.
Yes.
2, what advice would you have to any brand new photographer out there? What advice?
What advice? So much advice. No. If you're a brand new photographer, I would tell you, if that is your passion and that is your dream and this is what you want to do, then go after it.
Yes.
Don't let anything stop you. I had a lot of people in my life in the beginning that actually told me that I shouldn't do it. They told me that it's not a career choice. You need to go into banking or finance or something that's going to make you money. Yeah. But then I eventually got people into my life that actually really understood me.
That's awesome.
And so find those people. Find those support system, people that are going to encourage you to actually pursue it
Yeah.
and go after it, and then don't stop. Like, you know, come up with a plan.
Yeah.
And go after it.
Awesome. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having
And
me.
I had to ask you to come on the show because I was like, no, like I know I started modeling in San Diego with you.
Yeah.
So I was like, what better photographer to bring on the show is the one I started with, and you guys will be able to see the pictures because I will upload them. And also check out his website. And if you are in the local San Diego area, please, please, please check him out because he is amazing. Awesome. Like, he works well with you. He knows how to communicate well. And even the first time we met, I felt like, wow, I feel like I've known you for a long time. Like, I'm comfortable. Like, it's just awesome. And I really thank you for coming on the show. So I have something.
Oh.
Have something for you. This is just to say thank you
Oh.
for coming on the show.
Thank you, Sherman.
You don't have to open it right now, but
Okay,
thank you,
okay.
and I hope you have a great year in 2021 because
you.
obviously 2020 has blessed you.
Yes.
So we're gonna ask for more blessings to come.
Thank you, Charmaine,
Yes.
and thank you for having me.